with a golden crown. Tom Gulley's ready, no time to slow down. His voice a river, smooth and deep. He's got the stories that make the city weep. Walking streets where legends grow. Everywhere he stops, they already know. Tom Gulley goes to town. Oh, he lights it up, never lets it down. Tom Gulley goes to town. He's the man they chill, the talk of the town. Oh yeah, woo yeah, woo yeah. Barbershop chatter, a wave and a grin. Coffee shop wisdom, let the tales begin. The baker hands him a loaf with a smile. Tom, you're the man who makes life worthwhile. A mic in his hand, the airwaves ignite. He spins a story, he turns on the light. Listeners gather from far and wide. Tom Gulley's words, a city's pride. He lights it up, never lets it down. Tom Gulley goes to town. He's the man they chill, the talk of the town. Tom Gulley goes to town. Oh, he lights it up, never lets it down. Tom Gulley goes to town. He's the man they chill, the talk of the town.
Tom Gulley's got a mic in his hand. Ooh yeah, talking Bigfoot tracks in the sand. Hole punches, spiders, conspiracies tight. He's podcasting strong, deep into the night. From the man from UNCLE to the Motown scene. He's dropping gems like you never seen. Oh, you know Tom Gulley, he's the podcast king. Say what? Ladies man with a smooth, sweet swing. Bigfoot, spider, and 9/11 schemes. Tom's a man of your wildest dreams. Tom Gulley, he's got charm, got wit, and a silky flow. Oh yeah, talking mysteries only Tom would know. From R&B to the funk so tight, so tight. He's spinning webs like a spider at night. His voice is smooth like a Motown jam. Ooh-wee. You can't help but say that's my man. Oh yeah, Tom Gulley, he's the podcast king. Ladies man with a smooth, sweet swing. Bigfoot, spiders, and 9/11 schemes. Tom's the man of your wildest dreams. Tom Gulley, I'm gonna, Tom Gulley, I'm gonna, Tom Gulley, I'm gonna, Tom Gulley, I'm gonna,
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What is happening? Glad to see you tonight. I'm going to tell you all about the Springfield Three. Thank you, StreamYard. Thank you. Springfield Three murders. Now, This is an unsolved murder case from 1992. There are twists, there are turns, there are inexplicably unexplained things. I think you'll find it fascinating, and it'll mess with your head. It's like, how could this happen? Why do we not know even to this day? But we'll get to it all. Please do me a favor and like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all those free things that will help us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing, all-seeing algorithm. By the way, I forgot to put my ring on. Hold on a second, kids. Yeah. What is this? Oops, wrong way. The ring of power. Anyway, we do have Super Chats memberships. We have, of course, the always great PayPal, where you give the most, I get the most, and Google don't get nothing. Also, there's our merch store and 250 audio podcasts. Has nothing to do with the streaming show, with presidential candidates, actors, musicians, authors, it's all there too. All the information's down here in the begging bar. Enough of that. Let's get down to business. Let's get down to cases. Let's see who's in our chat room very quickly. Leon Kennedy is asking if I am going to confess to more murders. No, but actually I did live in Springfield, Missouri, although I had left shortly before these murders took place. Peter Lake says, hi, Tom. Sorry I haven't been around. Sometime my mom passed away back in June the 9th of bladder cancer. She was 76. I know, Peter, that she hadn't been well for a while. And, Peter's an OG. He's from way back in the day. Way back in the day when I was doing the show from Utah. And so it is good to see him here. And very sad to hear about your mother, but very, very glad to see you here. Leon Kennedy, who, by the way, creates all the songs for the Tom Gulley Show. He says, no clipping today, Mr. Gulley. Well, a miracle of miracles. The gods of StreamYard have decided to let me do a show today. And speaking of doing a show today, let's get down to cases, shall we? The Springfield Three refers to a missing persons case, which why? I'm like this. Why would you make me not like this? I hate StreamYard. I just hate it. It's you saw that I was like this the last anyway. It happened on June the 7th of 1992. That's when it began. It's a long story. Like a lot of these missing persons cases, you don't know exactly when everything happened, but it began on June the 7th of 1992 when friends and the two ladies on the right-hand side, Suzie Streeter and Stacy McCall, and Suzie Streeter's mother, the woman on the left, Sherrill Levitt, went missing from Sherrill Levitt's home in Springfield, Missouri. All of their personal belongings, including cars, purses, were left behind. There were no signs of a struggle except one thing that we'll get to later. And there was some other pieces of evidence that we'll talk about that no longer exist that might have provided clues. So the woman on the left, just to give you a little background on these folks, let's just get a different picture up here for a second. This is not as good of a picture, but they may be more flattering. The woman on the left, Sherrill Levitt, okay, she was 47 when this happened. And I'll just go ahead and tell you right now that the backdrop to much, if not all, of what happened during this sequence of events was the high school graduation of the two girls on the right, Suzie Streeter and Stacy McCall. It's a little difficult to keep all the S's separated here as I explain this, so I'll do my best, and I may refer to these gals as by their last name. Like to point out, these were all diminutive, somewhat ladies. Sherrill Levitt on the far left was only 5 feet tall and weighed 110 pounds. She was a cosmetologist, a hairstylist at a local salon, and a single mother, very, very close to her daughter, the gal in the middle, Suzie Streeter. Now, Suzie was 19 and only 5 feet 2 inches tall and only 102 pounds. Stacy McCall was Suzie's friend, some have said best friend. She was 18 years old, and she was 5 foot 3 inches, so slightly taller than the other two ladies, but only really 120 pounds. So smaller gals. And if you're thinking about women that have gone missing, that might be significant. That being smaller, easier to control, maybe easier to abduct, who knows? So as I mentioned before, I'll just put this picture up again so you can see it larger. Suzie Streeter and Stacy McCall graduated from Kickapoo High School at about 4 o'clock on June the 6th, the day really before all this happened. And they graduated on the campus of what was then Southwest Missouri State University. That's what it was when I went there. Now Missouri State. The mother of Suzie Streeter, Sherrill Levitt, she was in attendance, watching her daughter graduate, as you might imagine. And both Streeter and McCall, the two girls, were last seen at about 2 a.m. on June the 7th, the following very early morning, when they were leaving the last of a few graduation parties that they went to that night. And we'll get into the whole graduation part. There are twists and turns in that too. After the graduation, right, Kickapoo High School, which I believe is the high school Brad Pitt graduated from, and I used to drive by it every day on my way to work. Kickapoo High School had this alcohol-free lock-in party that lasted until 8 o'clock the next morning. So in an effort to keep kids from drinking and driving, they said, look, why don't you come to high school? There'll be all sorts of things to do and eat and see and dancing and revelry, but no booze. And we're going to lock you in until 8 in the morning so that even, if we were to let you go at 2 in the morning, you won't be out on the roads with other people that might have been drinking. Anyway, both of the girls decide we don't want to do that. And they instead plan to meet up at a friend's house. And that friend's name was Janelle Kirby. Now, Janelle Kirby and her family will figure prominently in this story. Not a bad way, but they were just a thread that goes through what those two girls were doing for the rest of the time that anyone saw them, and subsequently. So they were going to go to the Kirby house for a party that they'd have after finishing family dinners. So everybody graduates to go have their family dinners. Then there's going to be this party. Sherrill Levitt was invited, but she said, I don't want to go to the Kirby family celebration after graduation. Now, Janelle Kirby's mother was quoted as saying, if she, meaning Sherrill Levitt, wanted to get a hold of her daughter, Suzie, she knew exactly where to call. We had told her to call us if she needed to get a hold of Suzie, and our phone did not ring one single time. So Stacy McCall on the far right, she had pictures made with the graduation cake, and she got a Cocker Spaniel puppy as a graduation present, and she went and heads over to the Kirby residence. Suzie Streeter takes pictures later that evening at the home of Sherrill Levitt, I'm assuming, it says the Delmar residence, with her friend Nigel Kenny. We'll hear from him later, too, before leaving to go to that party at the Kirby house as well. So both girls are at the Kirby house. Sherrill Levitt is at home. Now, following that party, okay, Suzie and Stacy, the two girls, and Janelle Kirby, whose family had thrown the party, planned to drive to a Branson motel. And they were going to spend the night there and then hook up with friends the next morning to go to this water park called Whitewater, which a lot of people were doing. A lot of the graduates were going to this Whitewater water park. Stacy McCall's mother, Janice, says, do not drive. You guys will probably be drinking, or other people will. And so Suzie Streeter promises to call Nigel Kenny on the morning of June 7th so they can get together and everyone can meet at Whitewater. Stacy McCall promises to call her mother. So they've got a bunch of people that they're in contact with their families, not just once, but multiple times, and planning on contacting them the next morning. This isn't a fly-by-night thing. So once both girls arrive at the Kirby residence for this party, they begin partying that night with Janelle Kirby's neighbors in Battlefield, which is a town right next to Springfield. You might call it a suburb. There's a Battlefield Mall in Springfield, and then there's a street called Battlefield. It's very closely tied to Springfield. And then they change their plans, and they carpool to other parties in Springfield. So they go to several other parties. At about 10 o'clock that night, Stacy McCall calls her mother Janice with another change of plans. And she says, Mom, don't worry. We're not going to Branson tonight. Branson is quite a drive from Springfield. It's at least an hour and a half, if not 2 hours, I believe. Or maybe it's about an hour. It's in that neighborhood. Very common for people to go down to Branson, Missouri, which is, if you don't know, is an entertainment and touristy kind of place to go. Janice, Stacy McCall, on the right's mother, said that the new plan was made with the understanding that between 8 and 8:30 the next morning, everyone would meet to go to the water park, Whitewater. Now, what's Sherrill Levitt doing in all this to the far left? Well, she was last heard from at approximately 11:15 the night of the graduation, when she spoke with a friend on the phone about, of all things, painting and varnishing a cupboard, an armoire in her bedroom. So, the two girls' last party was at the home of a friend of Stacy McCall called Michelle Elder. And that they know this because that party was broken up by the Springfield police at 1:50 in the morning, before the three girls returned to Janelle Kirby's house in Battlefield at about 2 a.m. Now, Michelle Elder said that at her party, she and McCall wanted to get together and sort of rekindle their friendship. So they made plans for the evening of Sunday the 8th, which would have been, this is technically the morning of the 7th. So they were going to get together the next evening, which, you graduate from high school, and it's that time when you're completing all your years of school together, and you're kind of saying your fond farewells and, hey, let's never lose touch. And then, of course, you get old and you do. But that was their plan. Now, the original trio of girls, that being Suzie Streeter, Stacy McCall, and Janelle Kirby, they were going to spend the night at Kirby's house, but they got there and they realized Janelle Kirby's house was packed. It was loaded to the gills with out-of-town relatives because of the graduation. So Streeter and McCall say, Let's go to Suzie Streeter's mom's house. Let's go to Sherrill Levitt's house at 1717 East Delmar, and we'll just stay there and then get up in the morning and go to the Whitewater Park. Streeter, she was very excited to show McCall the new king-size waterbed that she recently had gotten. And Janelle's mother, Kathy, who we heard from earlier, told Springfield police she overheard the pair leaving while she was in bed. Streeter said to McCall, "Follow me to my house," to which McCall replied, "Okay, I will." And everybody assumes, including investigators, that they arrived at that house because their clothing, jewelry, purses, everything were present at the house the next day. And we'll get to the next day in just a second. Chef is here. He's with us in the kitchen. Goat is here. Says, "Smooth show tonight. Very cool." Crappy at Life says, "Happy to be here." And Johnny Brooks, who was kind enough to donate to the show and through our PayPal function, says, "Great show. Sorry I'm late." Johnny, I announced that the day after the day after I saw it. I think it was a couple days after you did it. So thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciate the PayPal donations. It's where you give the most, I get the most, and Google gets nothing. And that's the way, I like it, Here's an article about the last things that were heard. I believe that you can see Janelle Kirby in the picture on the far right. She's on the left-hand side. The two other girls are there. They've known each other since second grade, and I think perhaps that large picture in the middle is also Janelle Kirby, and you can see those final uttered words that anyone, heard the two girls say to each other. And that is because, we'll get to June 7th, the following day, the morning, when everybody's supposed to go to this Whitewater event, right? Janelle Kirby there and her boyfriend, a guy named Mike Henson, visited the house on Delmar that Streeter and McCall, Susie and Stacy, were supposed to be at. And the reason they visited, because those two didn't show up at Janelle's house like they were supposed to. They were supposed to be spending the whole day at the water park, fun, frolic. It's June in Missouri, hot weather, all that. And they were going to leave from Janelle's house. And Janelle says, I started getting worried because Stacy, she's so responsible, and so is Susie. I know they wouldn't just take off without telling us they weren't going to Whitewater. Now, when they got there, the house's door was unlocked, the front door unlocked, and they went in because people do that in certain places. But there was no sign of anyone there, which is odd because all of their cars were parked outside. The parking of the cars will become important in just a second. Janelle Kirby also reported to police that the glass lampshade on the porch light was shattered, but the light bulb itself was intact. Now, we covered the Burger Chef murders last week, and we talked about how they thought those kids were just out doing stuff, so they cleaned up the crime scene. There's a couple of things that are going to go on here that are very similar. Mike Henson, if you remember, Janelle Kirby's boyfriend, he swept up the glass, the broken glass from the porch, which destroyed potential evidence, okay? And the reason he did that is because apparently Janelle Kirby was barefooted, which is common in Springfield, Missouri, or at least was at the time. I lived there, I know. Lived at the Chardonnay Apartments. It's very embarrassing to tell people about that. And the place that I would go to eat most often with my best friend and meet to get wings and stuff was called Raphael's. Another embarrassing. Anyway, there was a good place to get burgers and stuff in Springfield called Cartoons. It was a little bar, a good burger there. Springfield, Missouri is famous for cashew chicken. There's like 97 cashew chicken places there, and they claim to have invented it. I don't know if that's true, but anyway, back to our story. So this evidence is kind of destroyed. This is a very key piece of evidence because there's a lot of theories about, did the women hear something and come to the... It's just, why is that broken when they went missing? You know. So Nigel Kenny, who was a co-worker and a close friend of Streeter's, they've never said boyfriend, but he's the guy she was with the day before and had arranged to meet to go to Whitewater with. He said that Suzie was a creature of habit and very particular about parking her vehicle in the same spot of the residence's driveway. Nigel Kenny says because Streeter's car wasn't in the carport, like it always, every single time was, he thinks somebody else could have parked in her spot when she and McCall arrived just before dawn on the morning of June 7th. Now, inside the house, Janelle Kirby finds, it's not exactly evidence, but it's something that everyone noticed. By the way, let's do this. Let's go ahead and do this yonder here. All right. So inside the house, Janelle Kirby finds the dog that lived there with Levitt and Streeter, a Yorkshire Terrier named Cinnamon. And the dog appeared agitated. Okay. Now, we'll get to more on the dog just later on, because by the accounts of everyone, the dog was acting strange. It was very agitated. It was doing things it never did. As they were leaving the residence, Kirby answered a strange and disturbing call from an unidentified male who made what the police called sexual innuendos. She immediately hangs up the phone and then immediately receives another call, same sleazy, awful stuff, and she hangs up again. And this shook her up. And she remembered that Suzie Streeter complained about prank calls at the residence since they moved in, since she and her mother moved in the spring of 1992. According to David Asher of the Springfield Police Department, the calls were obscene. The individual would not identify himself. They were using the F word and several other words, and she just hung up the phone. Now, almost immediately, the phone rings again. Obscene phone call. Again, click. It's over with. Kirby described the caller as teenish, and with no sign of Streeter or McCall, Kirby and Henson decided to visit the local water park, Hydroslide, instead of going to Branson to Whitewater. So they went to Hydroslide in Springfield instead of Whitewater in Branson. Several hours later, Stacy McCall's mother, Janice, she also visited the house. A lot of people would come and visit this house. It was a close-knit group of people. And the reason was because her daughter failed to answer her calls all day. Now, Janice McCall, she had friends who knew employees down at Whitewater in Branson, and she started to be very upset, panicking after they confirmed Streeter and McCall weren't there. They hadn't been seen there. Inside the residence, the family dog, remember, Cinnamon, comes barreling toward her. The dog was in there, and this is according to Janice McCall. The dog was in there just going crazy, yipping and crying. She noticed that all three women's purses were sitting on the floor of Suzie Streeter's bedroom. Why would all three purses be in the bedroom of the daughter? Sherrill Levitt's purse, get this, still contained a cash deposit of almost $900 from her work at the salon that she worked at. Janice McCall also saw her daughter's clothing neatly folded from the night before. The only clothes McCall had in possession that night. Janice noticed that Stacy's shirt and underwear were missing from the only clothes she had in possession that night. Now, girls, we all know, high school girls especially, will borrow each other's clothes, pajama, whatever. But still, she only had a certain amount of clothes in her possession, probably the ones she was wearing, and they're all neatly folded. Well, what's she wearing? Except her shirt and her underwear. Whether that is just kind of three gals going to bed and that's all they're wearing, or something a little more sinister, we don't know to this day. There were recently used makeup wipes from Streeter and McCall found along with their jewelry and keys. They did not take their keys if they left on their own. And they did remove all their makeup. Maybe they were preparing for bed. Levitt and Streeter's cigarettes, mother and daughter, were left inside the house. And this was considered highly unusual by Sherrill Levitt's friends, the mother, and her family, who described her as a major chain smoker. So for her to leave without her cigarette, she always had a cigarette kind of lady, right? There was an unfinished can of Coke found next to Streeter's pack of cigarettes in her bedroom. On Streeter's headboard, for some reason, was the book Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. The lights were off in Streeter's room, but her television was running snow. It was showing snow. And for those youngsters who don't know what snow is when there is no signal. You might see it when you switch from a source. It's when there's nothing at all. It's gray and black, just fuzz. Now, some people think that means they'd watched a movie that night but never turned off the television after they were finished. I get that. I hear that. I think that only makes sense if they're referring to a video cassette. Videos would show snow until you put the video in, and then you'd play and you'd have the movie, no problems. If you let the videotape run to the end, it would stop. And when it stopped, then you would get snow. I don't think it makes sense that they were watching, quote unquote, television or cable, because 9 a.m, there would have been regular programming. So I'm going to assume that means a videotape. That's what I'm going to assume that means. Let's get another thing up here for you real quick. I know you guys like pictures. You gotta like pictures. There's a few suspects up here. I'm kind of tipping my hand on those people, but we'll get to them in just a second. Now, Janice at this point is frantic. Janice McCall, Stacy's mother. And she calls police from the telephone in the home, which in these days of true crime, we all know don't do that. Most people have cell phones now, but even so, don't do that. There might be fingerprints on those. She was wanting to report the 3 women missing. And after placing the call, she checks the phone's answering machine, and she listens to a strange message on it. We don't have that message. Says it was inadvertently erased, as was common for most voicemails in the 90s after being played once. I don't know of any automatic erasing answering machines. I don't know that those have ever existed. Like you play it once and it gets erased. No. So Janice must have inadvertently, meaning just gone ahead and erased it. God, that's weird, and erased it. Which police were very interested in the call, as you might imagine, and maybe it contained a clue. They don't think that message was connected to the prank calls that Janelle Kirby received when she got there in the morning. But think of it, somebody just going, first of all, who checks somebody's answering machine messages? These people, I know you guys might know people like this. I know people who their front door is always open, especially during the day. Maybe they lock it when they go to bed at night, but their family and friends just come in the house. I've been with them. Hey, let's go over to so-and-so's. You go with them, you're with them, and they just walk in. And I'm like, don't you need to knock or something for it? No, they're fine. There's people like that. I'm not one of them. You need a congressional order, and I have to know you're coming over. Heck, I've had people show up to my house without calling first, and I've gone, hey, what are you doing? It's fine. I'm doing some things right now. Can we come in? No. Call first. Come back in an hour. I'm that way. Maybe nobody else is. Maybe I'm just a jerk. But I'm that way. If I went into someone's house, if I was even concerned about them, and there were phone messages, I would never listen to the phone messages, especially if I had called the police. Now, I'm being a little harsh on poor Janice McCall, because what we know about forensics and things, even in 1992, is probably not as advanced as it is today. I think most of us today would know never to erase those messages. I think most of us would know never to sweep up broken glass, all of that. If we found missing people and their stuff still there, and I think we would all know that. Especially the lady that called the police. Back then, not so much. Not so much. Gene 1313 says, that's what my family does to me. You mean just shows up and comes in? Look, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying I don't do it. I don't understand it. It makes me uncomfortable. But that's actually kind of a family thing to do. It shows, good-hearted, good-natured people. It freaks me out. I'm like, come on in. It's like, no, this is my place, thanks. There's certain people, obviously could get in at any time, even with me. But I remember a whole family of people stopped by. Hey, we're just in town, thought we'd stop by. And yeah, well, why don't you meet me at the restaurant next door? Why? Because I'm doing something, and I'm not going to be done for half an hour. Can we come in? No, not right now. We're done eating, maybe. I don't know. And they did, and it was really weird because the mom was some parents of some friends that I had for a long time. I was probably 30, but these were high school friends, and they moved away, and they knew where I lived. Apparently, I don't think I ever found out. And the only person that understood was the dad, because the mom was fussing and just let us in. And that's when we were at the restaurant that I lived next to, and I mean right next to. Like, they didn't have to move their car. It was across the parking lot. And she's fussing. I was like, I'm doing some things, and blah, blah, blah. And the dad was the only one. He just went, no, I totally get it. Joan, dummy up about that. We showed up unannounced. We could have called. We do have his number. He was the only one that got it. Anyway, so Stacy McCall's parents they get a hold of the police. Hey, our daughter's been gone. Nobody's seen her, talked to her, or anything for 16 hours. Nobody's seen any of these women for 16 hours. And other worried friends and family, when they start hearing these ladies are missing, their stuff's here, with the broken glass, and then the thing, and then some people called, and then there's other worried family and friends called. And they visited the house. Police later estimated that the crime scene had been corrupted by at least 10 to 20 people who visited Levitt's house and tidied up the residence while the women were missing, including emptying ashtrays, cleaning coffee cups. Just like the Burger Chef murders, they're destroying potential evidence. Even if it's just the number of cigarettes that she may have spent. I mean, yeah. Rick Bookout from the Springfield Police Department said, when I arrived, the first thing I noticed were several people in the yard. The door was open, and people were coming and going from inside the house. When the officers got inside, the scene showed absolutely no signs of struggle, except for that shattered porch light, and not actually the light, the bulb itself, but that sort of housing for it, the shade for it. Police also noted that Sherrill Levitt's bed looked slept in and that there was an awkwardly bent window blind. Now, that could have been awkwardly bent before any of this happened. Nobody knows. And it does make a little bit of sense that her bed may have been slept in because she was last heard from at 11:15, and she may have gone to bed because those girls' plans were changing, and then been awoken by the girls when they announced that they were coming over to stay at her house. All personal property was left behind: purses, money, car keys, driver's licenses, medicines, cigarettes, and of course, Cinnamon the dog, who's the only witness to whatever happened to the Springfield Three. And Cinnamon ain't talking. The women remained missing, even though police had a massive search, thousands of tips, and the whole city of Springfield was on edge for quite some time. On New Year's Eve of 92, a man called the America's Most Wanted hotline. And this one really steams me. Oh, does it steam me. Man calls America's Most Wanted hotline with information about the women's disappearances. But the call was disconnected when the switchboard operator tried to link up with the Springfield investigators. Another moment. Police said the caller had prime knowledge of the abductions and publicly appealed for the man to contact him, but he never did. Levitt and Streeter were declared legally dead in 1997, but the case files are still officially filed under missing. In sort of a macabre twist, investigators received a tip that the women's bodies were buried in the foundations of a parking garage at a local hospital. And eventually, a crime reporter and a mechanical engineer scanned a corner of the parking garage at that hospital with ground-penetrating radar. The mechanical engineer found 3 what he called anomalies, roughly the same size, that would have been consistent with a grave site locations. 2 of them were parallel, the other was perpendicular. But the Springfield Police Department said the person reporting this tip had no evidence or logical reasoning behind this theory at that time or even since then. She also said the parking garage was constructed, well, the start of construction was in September of 93, over a year after these women disappeared. And they also said that digging up the area and reconstructing this structure would be extremely costly, and without any reasonable belief that the bodies could be located there, it's illogical for us to do that, and we don't intend to. And we also don't believe the lead to be credible. Someone in the Greene County is where Springfield is located, prosecutor's office said the tip came from someone who claimed to be a psychic or claimed to have a dream or vision about the case. So it got a lot of press, but it really wasn't much of a clue. By the way, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, please, please, please. I got to get beyond the throttling that was being done by the algorithm. We were doing well or growing, and then all of a sudden, bam, back to zero. It only costs you a click to like, share, or subscribe, and please do that, if nothing else. We do have super chats. We do have memberships. I know if you watch other shows, it just rains down on some of the most, you know who these people are. Just something to help keep the show going. That's all. If you can. If not, that's fine too. We also have PayPal. All the details are in the crawl at the bottom of the screen or in the description of the show here on YouTube. And man, we'd appreciate it. You'd look cool to all your friends if you gifted a bunch of memberships. People might start calling you Fonzie. I don't know. There are suspects in this thing. Dustin Rekla was a former boyfriend of Suzie Streeter there. And he broke into a mausoleum in Springfield not too long, a few months before the women vanished. And he stole $30 worth of gold fillings from a skull. Yeah. And police were taking a hard look at him because Suzie Streeter kind of, she spilled the beans on him. She had given investigators a statement about the break-in and was going to be a witness, most likely be a witness against him in court. But he says he was with two friends that helped in the mausoleum robbery, but those people were known to be together and in the area the night the women went missing. So ostensibly he had a paper-thin alibi. Then we get to this wonderful person here. Yes. This is Larry Dwayne Hall. And he's a suspected serial killer who traveled around the Midwest for these historical reenactments of the Civil War and is believed to have abducted, raped, tortured, and murdered dozens of girls and women. Now, most importantly, and this is the thing if you live in Springfield, you get used to a lot of Civil War reenactors. I mentioned the town of Battlefield. I mentioned the Battlefield Mall. I mentioned the street called Battlefield. That's because Wilson's Creek National Battlefield is located just 5 minutes from the Kirby residence. The Kirby residence, where the girls had gone for the party. And that particular national battlefield is where they recreate a lot. All these Civil War reenactors go there because it's got a big battleground. It's convenient for that. There's a little cottage industry that has sprung up around it. The first time, because I was recruited by an ad agency to live in Springfield and work there, and they flew me in, very small airport. On the plane were people dressed in Union and Confederate uniforms. And I went to baggage claim. I'm standing there, and there's a Union guy, all dressed up, scabbard, the whole 9 yards. And because I'm me, I went up to him, and I just looked around, finally kind of leaned over and whispered to him, you guys win this, right? This dude got so mad at me. He was so mad. Anyway, so there were 2 battle reenactments in the morning and the afternoon of June 6th. Okay, the day of the graduation in Pleasant Hope, Missouri. That's 30 minutes north of Springfield. Jimmy Keene, who was an FBI operative, he was actually tasked with befriending Hall in prison and gaining his trust. Hall admitted to specific details about many, many of his crimes and murders in graphic details to Keene. that no one but the killer could have known. Hall also had a map of his victims, which has never been found after Keene revealed his cover. Nearly all of Hall's accused murders occurred between the months of March, June, August, and September, between 1980 and 1994, correlating with the time of the reenactments. Did they prove anything ever? Nope. But he was a strong suspect. And now we get to this piece of work. A guy named Robert Cox. In 1997, Robert Cox here was imprisoned in Texas as a convicted kidnapper and robber. And he was suspected in a Florida murder. And he told journalists that he knew that the 3 women had been killed and that they'd been buried. And he said their bodies will never be recovered. Well, so far, this loser is right. But in 1992, he had been living in Springfield, and they interviewed him then. They interviewed him back then, and he told investigators he was with his girlfriend at church the morning after the women had disappeared. And his girlfriend, well, she corroborated it. She corroborated it. Said, yep, he was with me. But then she later recanted her statement and said, I only said that because this guy told me to say it. He wasn't at church with me. So then they ask him again, and he says, oh, I was at my parents' home the night of the disappearance. And they confirmed it. But what else would Robert Cox's parents do? We already have another case of him asking somebody to give him a false alibi. So how believable is that? Authorities were not certain if he was involved in the case or he was just seeking recognition or attention. He stated to authorities and journalists that he would disclose what happened to the 3 women after his mother passed away. Yeah. There's another fella, a strong suspect among many. They have a lot of suspects for this, named Gerald Carnahan. And he was convicted eventually in the 1985 rape and murder of Jackie Johns. That conviction wouldn't happen until 2000, however. And he had a bunch of convictions, including the attempted abduction of another young woman years after the Jackie Johns incident. He also had ties with the Galloping Goose motorcycle gang, who were rumored to have ties with the case through a connection to one of their members named Stephen Garrison, who was a convicted rapist who police stated gave credible information related to the 3 missing women. Both those guys are still serving prison sentences. Well, the long and the short of it is, let's see, got a couple comments here. Johnny Brooks says, man, crime was easy back then. Well, I think it's still easy depending upon where you're at and the circumstances of the investigation. But I think it's harder overall, probably because of forensic improvements. Everything's computerized now. Back then you could buy something with cash. Nobody would ever be able to know where you were or anything. Well, now we got, even if you buy with cash, you've walked into a convenience mart with videotape or digital recording. Gene says, oh, that face has I did it written all over it. Yeah, doesn't it though? Doesn't it though? Now, this case remains obviously unsolved in spite of 5,000 tips from the public. And I can tell you that when I go to do these shows, especially on Twitter, I look for similar shows or shows that might cover this topic. And generally, I can find something. Okay, it may not have a strong didn't really find that, although I will tell you about a podcast that covers it. This and the Burger Chef murders have kind of, it's not like the Karen Reed case or any number of other cases where people are really actively, a lot of people are looking at it, right? Gene says, what's this town's slogan? Hey, gals, come to town and kidnapped and never get seen again. Well, these were residents. They didn't have to come. They were there. They weren't even move-ins. I can tell you that Springfield, Missouri, it's in the Ozarks. When I lived there, it was a really pleasant place to live. This kind of thing didn't happen. Friendly people. They had the Cox Medical was a big employer there. They had the university was there. The headquarters of a little company called Bass Pro, which many of you may have heard of. And I worked for a company that was an ad agency that did all of the advertising for Tyson Foods, which was not too far away in Arkansas. It was a family place. The banks at the time were open an insane length of time. Like you could go to the bank, I think they didn't close till 10 at night. It was weird. The cashew chicken thing, it was a good place. It really was. I had a nice time there. I still have, and I was there 35 years ago, I still have good friends from my time living there. Wonderful people. In June of 1997, a bench was dedicated to the women inside the Victims Memorial Garden in Springfield's Phelps Grove Park. Case has been featured on 48 Hours, America's Most Wanted, as we mentioned earlier. Investigation Discovery aired The Springfield Three on its Disappeared TV series. In 2019, the same channel's People Magazine Investigates featured a tabloid-style episode titled The Springfield Three. I haven't checked on this. Maybe one of you would like to. In 2021, journalist Anne Roderick Jones launched The Springfield Three, a small-town disappearance podcast. So that might be worth looking into. In fact, I'm going to look that up right now. I'm going to look it up right now while I'm talking to you folks on the thing with that. By the way, the link has been open the whole show at the top of the page for anybody who's wanted to come on and brighten our day. And just brighten our day. And our goal, which is usually any amount of money, has not been met. It's really not, the end of the world, I guess, but it's nice when people want to support your purchase of new equipment or the time that you spend with the... Okay, I'm looking at this thing here, and it looks like there are 11 episodes of the Springfield Three, all from 2021. It looks to me like I'm going to go ahead and post those in case anybody would like to see those. Miss Anne Roderick Jones has done the work, so why not give her a little publication? Let's just go get Anne Roderick Jones. A little hype here. Boom. Boom. That's where that particular podcast is located. I have not listened to it. I will, though. Don't you worry. I will. You can find things about it on YouTube and various places. I think it would be kind of wonderful if some people got involved in this. I don't know. Imagine a lot of people have looked over it, but it just seems like in this day and age when the internet focuses on something like this, so many smart people, so many discussions, they end up finding things. But I think the focus is probably going to be who did it. It's unlikely that these women are still with us, but finding who did it might be a cautionary tale to anybody else that wants to try this kind of nonsense. But very strange. And by the way, I can't speak for Ann Roderick Jones's podcast, but there are a zillion suspects. I think there's a family member that might be a suspect. It's just so open-ended. It's like they were plucked from a UFO. There's no trace of them. Not one trace. No sign of a struggle. Nothing. So anyway, that's all I got to tell you about the Springfield Three. I'm trying to think of what our topics will be next week. I do not know. I'm looking at, I know Marfan's disease might be one of the things. Oh, it's not an unknown case. I could cover Sylvia Lycan. I'm trying not to cover that case. It is so brutal and bad. It really is. Monday, we are going to do hypnosis will be the topic. I may do members show this weekend because I'm going to experiment with Streamlabs. Monday will be hypnosis. Tuesday will be the transatlantic accent. Tuesday will be the transatlantic accent mother. Let's see here. Why don't we do... Somebody asked me to do Three Dog Night, but I promised someone I was going to do Marfan's disease. This is going to be a ratings loser. But Wednesday, because I do a viewer requested every week, I'll do Marfan's disease. And Thursday, I will do another unsolved crime. I do not know what that will be yet. Because I don't want to do the ones everybody else is doing. There is a case of in Fort Worth from 1974. I mean, if we really want to go there, hold on. I might just cover that one since I'm local and everybody wants to. After I cover these, people go, well, the Indianapolis is the Burger Chef murders. Well, you were 15 years, that could have been you. Oh, Springfield. Well, you lived in Springfield, did you? Oh, I might as well do Fort Worth. Oh, you've lived in Dallas your whole time. Well, let's see here. Well, this looks like a pretty good one. I tell you what, we're going to do the Fort Worth missing trio. The Fort Worth missing trio on Thursday of next week. I think Thursday is going to be our unsolved true crime deal. I might try to start getting some guests on for some of this stuff too. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So there. Please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. Man, it only costs you a click. Just share it with your group. Just say, hey, this guy's kind of a jerk. He's not very smart. He's certainly nothing to look at, but man, oh man, can he spin a yarn? That's right, I said it. Can he spin a yarn? I like to use archaic language from time to time. And we would also appreciate it at some point in the near future. Your contributions of super chats, memberships. You can gift memberships to people, which makes you look really cool. Our memberships aren't pretty cheap, really. I may lower the price, actually. And then we do have the PayPal. It's all down there in the begging bar, and it's in the description of the show. And PayPal's the best because you give the most and I get the most. And YouTube and Google, they get nothing. If you go to the TomGulleyShow.com, our merch store is there, our Cafe Press store, with a vast array of top quality name brand items, sure to add a warmth and glow that'll be a focal point of praise and pleasure to any room. Then there's also 250 podcasts there on a dizzying array of subjects with presidential candidates, U.S. senators, authors, best-selling authors, musicians, Grammy Award-winning, 40 million record-selling musicians, and actors that have been on the number one show in television as the lead, and things of that nature. So it's all there for you if you want it. And I can't think of anything else. But I do thank you for joining me for this look at the Springfield Three, one of the United States' longest lasting and most baffling unsolved mysteries of not even recent memory. You know, it's been 33 years now. I mean, these girls would be in their 50s. Their mother would be pushing 80. So that's what we got for you tonight. I have wonderful songs from our good friend Leon Kennedy to take you out with this evening. And can't wait to do that. If anybody's got a request, love to hear it. I was thinking of playing... I want to play Tom Gulley right away. Do you want up-tempo or do you want something a little somber and slower in your soul music? What would you like? I mean, I played Tom Gulley Goes to Town. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play something super rockin' up-tempo. Well, not rockin', but R&B, funky groove kind of thing. And then I'll play Tom Gulley Goes to Town on the back of it. That's what I'm going to do. And any of your comments will appear on the screen. We might as well take this down. Nobody's going to give us any money. Not even 99 cents. Where's Terry Nee? This 99-cent guarantee. All right. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do this. And, Goat comes up with $4.99. Man, oh man. Goat, you are the best. Thank you so much. See, we've reached our goal of any amount of money. There's Gene, up-tempo for you. Is it your birthday, Gene? Everybody say happy birthday to Gene, unless it's the internet thing where everybody says it's my birthday today. But I don't care if it's your birthday or not, Gene. Thank you for being here. Thank you for contributing. And I'm going to play something really... Gene, for your birthday, I got to tell you this. You're going to be shaking your groove thing. Trust me. Whoa. I forgot to do the outro. So, Monday night, hypnosis. Tuesday night, the Mid-Atlantic accent. Wednesday night, Marfan's disease. And next Thursday, the Fort Worth Missing Trio, Unsolved Crime from 1974. I'm looking at that old clock on the wall, and it says, like the Reverend Al Green, I got to get on up out of here. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And with all that being said, I think the only thing left to say is happy birthday, Gene 13, and till next time. We'll see you next time.
a mic in hand, he's a podcast pro. Evil schemes on wherever he goes. Clap your hands now. Tom don't run, Tom don't hide. He's got that funky justice stride. With the bass line bump and the horns on blast. He's fighting those puppets, making it last. Say, Tom Gulley, say the man. Say Gulley, Gulley. He's got the plan. He's the man from Gulley. Oh yeah, he'll outsmart the dabble verse. Every day's the man from Gulley. Taking down those puppets in his funky way.
You know, it's Gene's birthday. Let's do another up-tempo one, shall we? And then I'm still going to play the Tom Gulley Goes to Town, so...
Tom Gulley's got a mic in his hand. Ooh, yeah. Talking Bigfoot tracks in the sand. Hole punches, spiders, conspiracies tight. He's podcasting strong, deep into the night. From the man from UNCLE to the Motown scene. He's dropping gems like you never seen. Oh, you know Tom Gulley, he's the podcast king. Say what? Ladies man with a smooth, sweet swing. Bigfoot, spider, and 9/11 schemes. Tom's a man of your wildest dreams. Tom Gulley, he's got charm, got wit, and a silky flow. Oh yeah, talking mysteries only Tom would know. From R&B to the funk so tight, so tight. He's spinning webs like a spider at night. His voice is smooth like a Motown